want to be heard? Well, right there.
All right. Go ahead and call this august body to order, and all of its vast audience members. If the clerk would please call the roll.
Let's see who we got here. Okay, Trustee Jensen.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Otterson.
Here.
Trustee Siddig.
Here.
Trustee Wells.
Here.
Attorney Magna. Mayor Hooker.
Here.
And Clerk McDonald.
And Trustee Gust is absent tonight. Okay, if you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first item of business tonight is the consent agenda, and I understand we have at least a couple items that we would wish to pull. And which items were those again? Trustee Siddig?
Those would be items number I and J.
Okay, that's the public safety reports for October and November. Is there anything else that the board would like to have discussed separately? All right, anything that the public would like to have discussed separately? There being nothing, would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding items I and J.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Otterson.
Aye.
Trustee Siddig.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
And Trustee Jensen.
Motion carries. Discussion on items I and J.
Thank you, Your Honor. I had noticed public safety reports for the month of October and November of this year. And what I've noticed, these lists are itemized. And for instance, October shows that there were 19 burglaries in Beach Park, and in November there was a total of 6. So I was curious as to the status of these. Is this something that's been rectified, or is this something that we need to notify the public about? I'd just like a little more information on these.
Sure. And by way of explanation to the board, the reason that these reports are coming to you together, the Sheriff's Department had changed its reporting system, its internal operating system that they use for tracking these. And during that transition, they fell behind in getting us the reports. And so therefore, we were unable to create these monthly summaries until this meeting. John, I guess I would ask if you're aware of any specific discussions that we've had with the Sheriff's Department on any of those burglary issues?
No, sir. We have not had any specific conversations about those. We can go back through the police reports and look for more information in regards to those specific incidents.
Okay. Is our deputy here aware of any trends or fads that we should be aware of as far as?
The only information that I can tell you, me being from investigations, I contacted some of the my former colleagues, and typically it's happening during the daytime. Typically they're dead-end streets, and they're utilizing rear access to force entry.
Okay.
I'm aware they're currently following up with some current leads. I haven't been notified if they had made any arrests regarding those burglaries, but I know that they're following up with several leads for those.
Okay. And Trustee Siddig, did you have any specific?
No, nothing in specific. I was just concerned about the number according to these reports. I wasn't sure if there was actually somebody in custody over this, or if this was
Not that I'm aware of.
the public needs to be aware about.
Correct.
Aware of.
Correct.
Yeah, October was certainly higher than I believe what we've been seeing, and the November number I think would be more along the lines of what we would expect to see on a monthly basis. So
this is kind of like the deaths in Chicago. It's kind of like a weather report.
yeah, Yeah,
And I share trustee Siddick's concern about timely notification of the public, as I've voiced before.
Right.
And I'm pleased to see these, but I'd like to engage our citizens in our neighborhood watch, if we have something going on in our neighborhood, as more eyes to help the police
yeah.
catch these guys. So a month or two later doesn't do us a lot of good in that,
Right.
in that regard.
The good news is the reports are coming in a timely fashion again. These are a weekly report that we receive. Jerry is on top of the initial review of those reports internally, and then he follows up with the appropriate Sheriff's Department members to track down. But again, through the month of October, we were without these reports, and so we are behind the curve on that month's information. So certainly, we are looking at the reports that we're getting now, and they have more abilities in their reporting to give us more information, and so we're diving into that a little bit deeper now as this information is starting to come, so.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And, you know, the numbers just kind of fluctuated so much from October to November
Yeah.
that it just, to me, it just appeared that because they were a little high in October and down in November,
Yeah.
that perhaps the person or persons who were involved in this might be
Right,
in custody.
right.
I have one more question for the deputy, sir, before you. Can you help me understand, like, what is the difference between burglary and theft?
Burglary is where you enter into a residence or a business with the intent to commit a theft, where theft is just if you would go, say, to, if you're invited into a person's house and say you're having a party and somebody takes your cell phone, they're actually invited, they're okay to be there,
Oh,
where in a burglary case, they don't have the authority to be there.
okay, thank you.
Would theft then include retail? Would that be in that category, retail theft?
Retail theft, it would just be at, say, a gas station or a Walmart, or it's.
Right, I mean, that would be in that same category of the breakdown that we got.
Yeah, if it was a retail theft versus a burglary would be after hours or at some time when they had no business being in the property, where the theft
Correct.
would be shoplifting or something larger.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then I just have one last question. When these particular burglaries occur, I don't know if this is possible or how we can make this happen, but is it possible if we do see a trend that way, if there's a way that our neighborhood watch captains can be notified, that way they can go ahead and do their job to let the rest of their contacts know, you know, to keep your eyes and ears open because this is.
Part of the challenge here, and something we've been working on over the last year, is the communication link between the Sheriff's Department and the village and the block captains. We've had discussions with the Sheriff's Department about a direct notification system. They didn't, at the time, have anything in their ability to make that direct notification. We're getting the reports weekly right now, so we've looked at, you know, frequency of reporting. The hard challenge is if there's 20 burglary, or 20 break and entries of cars or whatever else on one night, if it's on a Friday night, we're not going to hear about it until Monday or Tuesday when we get the reports, that kind of thing. So it's still in the hopper. We're still pressing for a way to deal with that, but we haven't found a good, clean path yet.
And I did review the majority of those residential burglaries were pretty scattered throughout the town. It wasn't one isolated area. So there wasn't like we could just make notification to a certain group or area. It was pretty scattered throughout the whole village.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem. So then we can go ahead and consider a motion to accept both the public safety reports for October and November. to,
So moved.
complete.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells. Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
And Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Trustee reports, building and zoning, we have Trustee Wells.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have one item on the agenda for your consideration, which is a minor subdivision and lot consolidation of the Benito Plat consolidation at 12581 through 12609 Eastwood Road. And basically what we're exploring here is the consolidation of two lots, which are approximately 16.2 in terms of square footage. There's two lots. One has a principal structure on it. The other has a accessory structure on it. The purpose of the consolidation is to, again, consolidate it whereby the individual will be able to complete the building of an accessory structure on the secondary lot and also to build accessory structures. Typically, the zoning ordinance does not allow a accessory structure on a parcel without a principal use or a principal structure established. So in the consolidation of this, we're actually going to wind up with 32.4 as far as square footage, and that will actually allow the gentleman to be in compliance with our ordinance. This did go before the engineering, which had no exception with it. They took no exception. Also went for the planning committee, planning and zoning committee, and they actually unanimously approved it. And I'd like to bring forth a motion for your consideration for to approve the plat of consolidation.
All right, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Siddig?
Aye.
Trustee Wells?
Aye.
Trustee Jensen?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Addison?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Your Honor, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We had no TIF committee meeting this month, so there's nothing to report on that. Next, we go to Public Works. Trustee Addison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item, both of these items are involving a water main extension that was done on Waldo Avenue. The first one will be to accept that water main as part of our village infrastructure. And the engineers have done all the testing and the inspections, and all the lien waivers are in order, so it's free and clear for him to hand over to us. So for the first motion, I guess it's a motion just to accept the Waldo water main extension as a public improvement in our water system.
Yes, I do.
So that was a motion.
Okay,
Second.
that would be ordinance number 26. Our attorney was just questioning the maintenance bond. There is stated in the ordinance a maintenance bond in the amount of $3,500.
Right, 3,500 has been deposited.
Yep, and in cash, correct? Yes. Okay. So that would be ordinance 26. Any discussion? I'm sorry, did we get a second? Did we have a second?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
Okay.
did.
Any other discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Wells?
Aye.
Trustee Jensen?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Addison?
Aye.
And Trustee Siddig?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Okay, and the second item is, again, this, the same water main extension. Our village attorney and the staff have worked with the owner on a recapture agreement. The homeowner that installed this water main paid for the whole thing himself. The recapture agreement is put in place. There's 3 other lots that the water main passes in front of. If they decide to hook up to that water main, they will be required to pay the owner back a portion, or like a quarter of the amount for the water main. And it's valid for a 20-year period. Will be administered by the village, and at the time that takes place, I believe it's 4% of the amount will be given to the village for the administration and the paperwork of it. So the second motion I'll make is to accept or authorize the execution of a recapture agreement between the village and Rob Burgett.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion on the recapture agreement? This would be ordinance number 27. Roll call, please.
Trustee Jensen?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Addison?
Aye.
Trustee Siddig?
Aye.
And Trustee Wells?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, and that concludes the Public Works report. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance Committee, Trustee Jensen.
I really have no news for you. We did have our regular monthly meeting on 20th of November. We'll have our next one next Wednesday and invite everyone to come join.
Okay. Public Safety, Trustee Sidik.
Thank you. I just have one item that I would like to mention, and that would be the recent gathering of Shop with the Sheriff that took place on Tuesday. And the Lake County Sheriff's Association, along with Sheriff Mark Curran and the employees of the Sheriff's Department from almost every division, including our school district, which was involved with this. There was a total of 132 children that were actually able to come to visit and do Shop with the Sheriff. We started at 4:30. I don't know that we got out of there until after 9. You know, most importantly, I just think that I was happy to hear that Beach Park was actually chosen again this year. And there's just always one story that sticks out in my mind of one child. And this year it just happened to be a little girl, 13 years old. And she went to Walmart and she, instead of buying anything for herself, the one thing she did want was an actual Christmas tree for their house.
Yeah.
So that just kind of made my day, and I was glad to be there. And I think the total amount, and this is all donated money that comes into the Lake County Sheriff's Association, it was a total of $26,000 that was spent.
Yep.
So there was out of the 132 children that were there, they were just happy to be there.
Yeah.
Very thankful, and I'm glad I was there too.
Very cool. Yeah, and thank you for going to that. I was unavailable that night, but there's a lot of pictures on Facebook that are showing up from the Sheriff's Department, and just an awesome opportunity. First of all, what a generous outpouring for the kids, but also showing those kids that people in uniform aren't their enemies, that they're out there looking after them, and I think that's a strong message going back to all those families, so.
I agree.
Very cool. Very cool.
So that's all I have. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Public Relations, Economic Development, Trustee Miller.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
All right. And Trustee Gus is not here. Were there any reports on his behalf?
I think, and I didn't attend, but I know they had the kids' holiday party on Saturday. Donna, do you know how many kids were there?
It was more than last year. It
was a big turnout. Okay.
It was well attended.
And Santa did show up from the airport and
It was constant busy. It was not lulls here, that was straight through.
good.
It was a really good turnout.
That's nice.
Very cool.
I believe that's all he would have discussed
Okay,
if he were here.
if you were here. Very good. All right, we have no report from our village engineer or our treasurer tonight. John, you have a report from your department.
Yes, Your Honor. The first item before you tonight is really a housekeeping item. It's consideration of an ordinance authorizing the sale or disposal of surplus personal property owned by the Village of Beach Park. There's a list in the board packet. Really, it's a number of cell phones, computer equipment, printers, and the like. Most of it will be disposed through a secure electronic recycling program. Some of the things with value, the village does intend to sell.
All right, so we have an ordinance, which would be ordinance 28.
I would make a motion to authorize the disposal of surplus personal property owned by the Village of Beach Park.
Second.
We have a motion in a couple of seconds. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Addison?
Aye.
Trustee Sidik?
Aye.
Trustee Wells?
Aye.
And Trustee Jensen?
Aye.
You sure you want to part with that typewriter?
Yeah, that's got some antique.
Okay, thank you.
The second item before you tonight is consideration of a resolution authorizing the Village of Beach Park to upgrade our current software, which is known as BSNA. BSNA is currently being utilized for the Code Enforcement Department. It's been utilized a little bit by the Public Works for tracking complaints as well. This is a complete overhaul of that software. It changes the language that the software is written in. The village has not had any upgrades on this software since it was first acquired in 2007, and so this upgrade will take the language of the software and allow it to be more of a web-based software. It'll also allow for the expansion of the services that can be put through BSNA. It is the intention of staff to start handling building permits through the BSNA software as well as it would have the capability of expanding for some of the new services that the village has at least discussed at this point, including vacant properties, rental properties, things of that nature. All of those would be able to be handled by the upgrade with BSNA.
Very good. And this is a good tool, and it's a tool that, as you said, we've been doing working with building permits in other ways, and actually this is a better tool for accomplishing those recording those functions and keeping those records as well as the rest. Very good. So we have a resolution here, number 48, authorizing the Village of Beach Park to upgrade current software with BSNA, with the cost being not to exceed $15,910. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
In a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I just have one comment. The upgraded software, one of the initiatives that was highlighted in our meetings,
Meeting?
yes, committee meetings and in our previous priority session has been the additional code enforcement. I think that had been expressed on the part of all of the board members, and I think that this tool will be a great asset to us in our, again, some of the things that I know John and I have talked about, Mayor has talked about, and some of the other board members. We're looking at doing quite a few more aggressive code enforcement initiatives in the future, as well as some other things we think will benefit the village. And this tool will be a great asset to accomplish some of those goals, and again, assisting us greatly in our end result of what we're trying to achieve in the enforcement arena.
Sure. Very good.
I had a couple of questions. Is there a limit to the number of users on this package, or is
No, no, sir.
Okay. And question two, I see you referenced training and that you didn't think you might need to use the entire training allotment. And I see for some of their other utilities, they offer training on site at their location at $200 a day as opposed to $1,100 a day here. Did you look into that as an option if you needed more than a day or two training?
The current proposal before you has budgeted for 5 full 8-hour days of training, and that's here on site. That's about $1,000 a day for the training on site versus what you said, $200. Their location is in Michigan. It would be Bath, Michigan. I believe it would, if they're here on site, they can train multiple people at once for that. Whereas if we send somebody to Michigan, it would be a train the trainer.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the other option I was going to ask you if you'd consider. Okay.
Fair enough.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
And Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Right. Any report from the village attorney tonight?
A point of information for the mayor and the board, and the public for that matter. You will recall that last week and for many months prior, the state legislature struggled with what they called, quote, pension reform, unquote. And regardless of what your personal views may be as to the outcome and whether or not it's enough or too much, there are a couple of things that municipalities need to keep in mind, and having attended a couple of conferences on this and the interactive emails among the municipal attorneys, 10 years ago or so, the state legislature changed your sales tax system, your local share. It went from a levied sales tax of 1%. Every municipality passed an ordinance taking the 1%, which was your tax, and it was administered through the Department of Revenue. 10 years ago, the state legislature abolished that authority to levy the individual tax, and instead, you could, by ordinance, direct that the Department of Revenue collect on your behalf as a municipality up to 1% as the local share of sales tax. What this did is it moved sales tax from being a dedicated fund for the municipality that levied the tax, collected by Department of Revenue, to an appropriated distribution from the state of Illinois. And you may recall, appropriations are subject to legislative discretion. The pension reform legislation has a system established. I call it several layers of onion skin, from those who should bear responsibility and those who are affected by the lack or the exercise thereof. There is a commission that's established within that Pension Reform Act, which in effect, and I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible, but you need to know this, which in effect, in the event the legislature is unwilling or unable to make those deposits that are scheduled for many years forward into the respective pension funds, in the event they fail to make those deposits, this commission is authorized to seek from direct jurisdiction to the Supreme Court of the state of Illinois, in effect file a lawsuit to get the Supreme Court to mandate that those payments that are scheduled in the legislation, to mandate that those be made. Now, if they're not made, common sense tells you it's because they don't have the volume of revenue to be able to make the payment. Or they've spent more, again, than they took in. Never happens. Why bring it up in the context of appropriated sales tax revenues? Because you've seen this happen with the distributive share of the income tax. There's been an erosion to the local municipalities of the amount distributed to the municipalities. There is a risk. I doubt very much there's going to be any so-called news like this during the election cycle that's coming up next year. However, after that, there is a risk that if the state doesn't budget itself to meet those pension deposit obligations that are laid out in the legislation, and they're graduated, I mean, it doesn't pay it overnight by no means, they're going to have to take that revenue from somewhere else. So my point of my report here to you is it's so very important to stay in touch with your local state legislators, to stay active and involved with your county municipal league, as well as the Illinois Municipal League. Those are your advocates, for the municipalities, so that if symptoms begin to develop, and you'll be reading about it in the newspaper if they do, that the state is anticipating not being able to make its deposit. I'm not saying it won't. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to alarm anybody. But these are the things that creep up on you, and I'm still waiting for the schools to be financially saved from the lotto. That hasn't happened quite yet, but that's the way it was promised when it was proposed. So be vigilant, because you work so hard you look at your stack of your agenda to do your day-to-day business on behalf of your citizens. There's a larger authority with significant consequence if they should not meet their obligations in the next couple of years or any year thereafter until 2032 or whatever that end date is supposed to be. So that's a point of information. I have you all together. I just wanted to lay that up. But vigilance and involvement with your local advocacy groups, I think, just are very important to you. Okay, that's all I have to report.
I was in a pretty good mood before he
Yeah,
started.
Sorry.
thanks for brightening our days.
It's my job to bring the good news.
All right, well, that's good advice, and we will certainly keep our eye on the ball there.
It's really too bad because, you're behind the eight ball. You do everything right, and then
Yep.
someone else doesn't, then, I mean, you have no recourse as a municipality, that's what I'm hearing you say.
There's strength in numbers. That's why what they count on is that you're all going to work so hard just within your geographical limits.
Right.
And Julius Caesar knew how to divide and conquer. When you're already maybe divided, it's very easy to conquer. There's strength in association and affiliation with common cause. There really is. And this isn't to say it should be a battle. I mean, we all governments at all levels should work together. But when push comes to shove, when there's only so many apples in the barrel, the low man usually doesn't get any apples.
Yeah.
Good point.
Or the
Okay.
worm.
Now I'm hungry, too. I'm in
Yeah, okay.
that mood, and I'm hungry.
I was going to say tacos, so you could.
Yeah, that's even better.
Hungry and in a bad mood.
That's right. Thanks, Rudy.
Merry Christmas.
While you're at it.
All right. Next, we have our village clerk's report.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I am asking for a motion to consider an omnibus vote regarding our resolutions 49 through 54.
And what we would do there is we need to do that in two steps. The first being the board approving the act of taking an omnibus vote, and then secondly, we would read into the record the six motions, the six resolutions that would be considered in that omnibus vote.
There's a couple of corrections we'd like to make in the calendar of two of the resolutions, Your Honor.
Thank
Oh,
you.
boy. Do you have to know what omnibus means to make a motion?
Let's get the corrections in here, and then one vote
vote,
for, yeah,
No, I know.
one for many.
Kind of like the shorty bus, remember that?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with.
What were those corrections?
The first correction, Your Honor, would be for the village board meetings for the calendar year of 2014. Instead of October 19th, it should say October 9th and October 23rd for the October meetings. And then on the Plan Commission, we'd like to change the time from 7 p.m. until 6 p.m. for the calendar year 2014.
Okay,
Thank you.
right. So if we could have a motion to consider items A through F in an omnibus vote.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call on that.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Okay, trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
And trustee Addison.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, we would be starting with 49, is that correct?
Yes, correct. That is correct. It's 49.
So, I will take the task of couching this motion. This motion would be to approve resolutions approving the holiday calendar for the Beach Park Village Hall for 2014. A resolution establishing the 2014 board meeting schedule, a resolution establishing the 2014 Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals meeting schedule, a resolution establishing the 2014 Public Works Committee meeting schedule, a resolution establishing the 2014 TIF Committee meeting schedule, and a resolution establishing the 2014 Finance Committee schedule. The numbers of those resolutions would be 49 through 54, a total of 6. Could we get a motion
So moved.
Second.
and a second? Any discussion? And roll call, please.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
And Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Right.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's it, thank you.
The next item of business would be considering an ordinance authorizing the execution of the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Beach Park and the Lake County Sheriff's Department for police services from January 1, 2014 through December 31 of 2016. That would be ordinance number
29.
29. If we could get a motion to that effect.
I will,
Moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. For discussion purposes, this is a carbon copy of the agreement that we've been operating under for the last 3 years and before. The changes in the ordinance are purely to update the time and the costs per shift, which happily are less than a 5% increase. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the, this would be for, again, 2 shifts of coverage, the first and second shift coverage. And I would open it up to any other questions or discussion that would be on the board here.
I would just say that I'm glad that this worked out, and I'm happy with the service we get from the Sheriff's Department, and I'm looking forward to it continuing the same, level of service that we've been getting. It's a bargain, and it's a great value to our community.
And it works great.
It certainly does.
Yeah, it's the only way to go.
There was one other small change that we had inserted into this, and I'm going to struggle to find it now, that had to do with the additional costs if we were to add a shift.
Page 102, sir.
102, thank you. And basically what we did is we've got until December 31st of 2014 to make a decision about adding a third shift without incurring the vehicle premium cost. So should that become a priority for the village board in the next 12 months, we have that amount of time without incurring that. So that was one point that we did negotiate in. Also, separately, we have agreements on what costs would be for special details, et cetera, but we did not have those incorporated into this specific agreement because they're trying to keep this standard amongst their other contract holders. So, any other questions or discussion? Right, roll call, please.
Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
And Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Motion carries. I am very happy.
Me too.
And appreciation to the Sheriff's Department and their work in putting this together for us as well. Now is the time that Carrie could. Donna? No?
We have a late comer there, too. in the corner.
Oh, in the corner, hiding
Well, I
in the
was
corner.
addressing residents first. Now anyone that would care to address our board, if anyone would want to, no? Nothing, Brent? No?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to, if no one has anything.
Well,
to
you are
say.
a citizen, you can address the board.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to remind our citizens and our listening audience that we did have a grand opening for a new restaurant, Bona Vista, which is here on Wadsworth Road. It's a very roomy restaurant. They did a lot of work in there. It's got a very extensive menu. I want to encourage you to go over and partake in
Expensive or extensive?
extensive,
Extensive, with a T, not a P.
Almost killed it.
a very extensive menu. So we want to encourage those who are in and about the village to stop over and pay them a visit. And I think you'll find it quite pleasant and quite pleasurable in terms of the menu and service.
What's good, Larry?
Everything.
Spoken like a real politician.
I have eaten there a couple of times and have been pleased with the food and the service as well, so.
Ribs, the flat ribs.
The flat ribs were good?
flat
Okay.
Got a recommendation?
Yeah,
Okay.
twice.
Very cool. All right. We have no cause tonight for an executive session. Is there any other business for the board today?
I would make a motion that we require everyone to have a Merry Christmas.
I'll second that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And now that we adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Wells?
Aye.
Trustee Jensen?
Aye.
Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Addison? And Trustee Siddick?
Aye.
We are adjourned. How about that?
I don't think it's ever dull coming
Never.
What did you have?
Never.
They call it ribs, but it's not the ribs that you, the long ribs